the shooting range. In this episode, one step ahead, gathering and analyzing combat intel, a titan of the age that never was, the story of the Me-163. Hotline, developers answer questions that you've left in the comments. But first, let's start with the Warrior tracked armoured vehicle, the British take on the APC IFV formula. The Warrior is a rank 6 top light British tank, comfortable sitting at BR of 8.0. What's great, there are no arrows leading to it. The Warrior is not tied to any other top vehicle. For starters, let's take a look at its defenses, because it's not going to be a long talk. Yeah. The effective thickness on the front can potentially reach 100 millimeters, but that won't really help you at such a high battle rating. On the flip side, your roof is pretty solid. 28 millimeters of armor mean that enemy planes won't pester you with those fires. Anyway, don't mourn the absence of armor, oh pilot mine. This dashing Brit has a much better argument up his sleeve: armaments. The L21A1 automatic cannon and the Milan ATGMs. The cannon's rate of fire definitely could be better. 80 shots per minute is nothing spectacular compared to what the BMP-2 or the Begleitpanzer Panzer 57 have. It's not that good. Penetration rate is also okay-ish, 110 millimeters at point-blank range. On the other hand, the possible angles are quite nice, from -10 to 45 degrees. You can shoot from basically any rough terrain, both at ground and air targets, which is great. Just remember that you only have 222 rounds in tow. And yeah, you have a deathly allergy of enemy front sides. Aim for their rears and sides. Head-on attacks are a no-no. The ATGMs, however, are astoundingly powerful. Just look at this. It penetrates up to 730 millimeters of armor. Any side of an enemy vehicle is fair game. Shoot, they will blow up even if you just glance in their general direction. You carry 8 of these bad boys. Oh, and by the way, the Milan 1 and Milan 2 systems are all second generation. You can guide the missiles with your mouse. That's neat. Drive and shoot? Shoot and drive. Right. Speaking about the drive part, it's actually the best. This 23-ton vehicle can reach the speeds of up to 75 kmph when going in a straight line. And the reverse speed is the same, which is a really helpful feature, especially in tight spots. The maneuverability is on point too. It's a proverbial light tank. Fast 360-degree turn, fast acceleration, everything is in order. There are 2 effective ways to use the Warrior in battle. The first one is to find a nice safe spot with a good view and fire your ATGMs away. It's profitable and efficient, but not terribly, interesting. The second method is considerably more heroic. Thanks to its ungodly speed, the Warrior can easily take unexpected flanks and routes. You can catch your opponents off guard by being somewhere they don't expect you to be, somewhere they consider safe. Flank, engage 1 or 2 vehicles, wreak havoc, change position. Just don't rush ahead straight into the crucible. In a regular head-on engagement, you'll have a much tougher time. Don't forget that light vehicles have a very important unique capability. Using binoculars, you can highlight enemy vehicles to your team. Get your binoculars, put your crosshairs on an enemy vehicle, and press the Scout button. It's a good idea to set it in the controls beforehand. Done. A marker appears over the enemy vehicle, and now its position is marked on the minimap for all your allies to see. You also get rewards for scouting, so stay vigilant, be aware of your surroundings, use your opportunities, and win. Speaking of being aware of your surroundings and using your opportunities, let's talk about a skill that is crucial to win battles. War Thunder constantly bombards you with all sorts of visual and audio cues. It's in your best interest to learn how to get all the information you need, analyze it, and then use it to get that sweet victory. Your first and probably the most important helper is the Minimap. It's your eyes, basically. Start by getting used to track the movement of your allies. Most of your mates go to one flank? It makes sense to assume that the opposing team might get a free rein on the other side. The faster you are able to notice the patterns and draw conclusions, the more chances there are that you'll be able to react to what's happening. We take a look at the map. Make a note of the situation. Rush to defend the flank. By the way, the size of the minimap can be easily adjusted, like that. Another important thing you can see on your map are enemy vehicles that were highlighted by your allies. They can create these markers by either hitting enemy tanks or, if they're on a light tank, by scouting them with binoculars. Combine this information with the information you get from the in-game chat, like when your allies are requesting backup in specific areas or suggesting that you should defend a specific zone. This way, you'll have a much better understanding of the current state of events. But don't be just a passive user. Help your team by providing useful intel as well. The main thing here is to set up chat commands. Go to the menu right here, like that. Okay, let's say you're trying to repair your vehicle and spot an enemy rushing to finish the job. What kind of information should you give to your teammates? First of all, we highlight the enemy on the map. You can do that with your mouse, by the way. Hold Alt and then just left-click on the enemy. Easy. Then go through the radio commands to ask for assistance and call out the grid references. We also say how much time we need to finish the repairs. An experienced player does all of that in the matters of 2 or 3 seconds. Only a couple of seconds, and you get much better chances of survival. The process is more or less the same if you want other players to help you while attacking or defending a zone. Once again, highlight the enemy forces. It's also helpful if you write in chat how many vehicles are actually there. Then we ask allies to defend the point, or to attack the specific area. It's really easy. Just don't spam the same commands over and over again. It's not helpful and can be really infuriating. Don't be that guy. If you get used to quickly noting and assessing the information provided to you by your teammates and the game, you'll be able to tell where even the unspotted enemy forces are located, and sometimes even where the enemy is headed. There will be mistakes and false alarms, of course, but human behavior is difficult to predict. It will certainly make it easier to win, though, not to mention that it's really sweet when you anticipate an enemy maneuver and catch them off guard. The legendary Me-163 Comet is one of the most well-known German aircraft. But do you know why it was built that way? Everybody knows that the Me-163 was the first ever mass-produced tailless fighter, and also the first and only mass-produced rocket-powered fighter aircraft. Everybody knows that even though it is called a Messerschmitt, Willy Messerschmitt was not the one who designed it. The man behind the idea and the design was the talented aeronautical engineer called Alexander Lippisch. Messerschmitt's factories just happened to be the place where Lippisch's machine was brought to life. Mr. Messerschmitt, by the way, was also the one who drove Lippisch away, criticizing his work day in, day out. He didn't approve of the tailless design and at some point even wanted to make Lippisch redesign the wing altogether. Last of all, everybody knows that the Me-163 Comet was the first ever piloted aircraft of any type to exceed 1,000 kph in level flight. What many forget to ask is, why did it have to be tailless? And why did it remain the only operational rocket-powered aircraft? These days, the advantages of jet turbines are kind of obvious, and the emergence of the first jet-propelled aircraft in Germany is seen as a kind of a great breakthrough. But it was not as obvious then. Actually, no one knew what to do with those engines. Their thrust output was not that great. The R&D expenses and maintenance costs were sky high, and they were very unreliable to boot. Many specialists in the field didn't even consider them as a valid option. In late 30s and early 40s, rocket engines seemed to be simply better in many ways. First, they were light and small. Second, they had very fast thrust response. By the way, that's something even modern jet turbines are lacking. Third, there were a lot of different fuel oxidizer combinations you could use. The best part, though, was its thrust output. Oh yeah. The Walter engine that the Comet used produced 3 times more thrust than either of Juncker's or BMW first jet turbines. These strengths were obvious to anyone, not just the Germans. At the same time, the whole world was aware of its many flaws. But there wasn't any other country which was in the same position militarily. After the Blitzkrieg failed, the Reich suddenly found itself at war with most of the world powers. The numerical advantage was out of the question then. That's why the Germans decided to press the technological advantage, even if it meant relying on some risky or unproven technologies. That's why, while jet turbine advocates were slowly advancing their technology, German designers decided to green light the radical rocket-powered aircraft design. And oh boy, were there problems with that idea. As it turned out, the rocket engine didn't react too well to varying overloads, and generated heat like crazy. It was so bad that it was capable of melting all the rear fuselage. That's why the Comet had to go tailless, by the way. At one point, the team even considered using wingtip-mounted rudders instead of a conventional vertical stabilizer at the rear of the aircraft. The designers of the Me-163 also had to make sure that there would be no fuel or oxidizer leaks. And that's not just because their slight contamination would make the aircraft explode, but also because the oxidizer was literally capable of killing the pilot if it somehow made it into the cabin. Which happened at least once, by the way. When everything worked as planned, though, the Comet seemed like a gift from the gods. It climbed almost vertically and gained speed as fast as if trying to outrun the hounds of hell. It was simply beautiful. But in the end, things didn't go as planned on the larger scale. By 1944, there was no fuel or oxidizer left for the Comets. It all went to the last hope of the Reich, the V-2 rockets. There weren't many pilots capable of handling that either. Soviet pilots and their Western allies took care of that. All in all, 370 Comets were built. Only about a dozen were combat-worthy, and managed to down only about 15 Allied aircraft. After Germany surrendered, the victorious powers took the remaining Me-163, tested them, and forgot them. It was the dawn of a new era, the era of the jet turbine. Get ready for the traditional last part of our show, Hotline. It's all about one important thing today. Guys, we know that you've been asking a lot about parts and FPE lately. Now, there is an official post about this very issue written by our creative director. That is basically what our team thinks about the whole thing. So, if you're interested, there is a link to the original post in the description below. Do check it out. Also, as usual, feel free to write your questions in the comments below. We do read them all, and you might see some of them answered in the next episode. If you like what we're doing, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. See you on the shooting range.